Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 211 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on May 14th, 2024. How are all you wonderful folks doing on this beautiful spring day? I hope you're doing well. I think this will be a fun episode. Today I have two topics prepared for you. The first is the technical discussion of the Surefire SOCOM556-RC3 white paper. We published that last week, so we'll do the technical deep dive today. Man, has that been a hot topic of conversation in the silencer world? You know, I knew it was going to be popular due to all the interest we have from folks in producing it. You know, that's why we did it. But man, I really underestimated the emotional response from people. And I'm going to address that too. I'm going to address that aspect of it on today's episode as well. It's probably important to do so I will. Just want you to know that it was not lost on me that occurred. Okay. The second topic I have prepared for you is yet another publication. That's right. I felt there was more to show comparing the performance of the RC3 and the previous generation RC2. So as promised, there's a Pew Science member research supplement being published concurrently with this episode today. That's right. This one is only available to Pew Science members as a thank you for their support of the effort. Yeah, so members got extra in last week's white paper, and they get an entire supplement today of their own as well. So I hope you guys enjoy. If you really want to know the difference between the signatures from an RC3 and an RC2, I think this supplement's definitely for you. So sit back, relax, and I'll give you a quick word about our gracious podcast sponsors that make this show possible. Because the J Situation Podcast is proudly sponsored by Legion Athletics. Nothing you do, exercise, sports, anything is worth doing without consistency. You have to do it all the time if you want to be good at it, and Legion Athletics can help. They got whey protein, pre-workout, post-workout. They don't have everything you need, but they have a lot of it, okay? Visit legionathletics.com. There's a link in the show notes. Use code word PewScience to save 20% off of your first order, and if you keep using that code for double loyalty points, you'll end up getting a net 10% off everything you order going forward using the code. That's right. Get strong. It's important. This podcast is also brought to you by Top Gun Range Houston. If you're in the Houston area, even if you're just passing through, they're worth checking out. In addition to have a 15-lane indoor shooting range, they have the largest firearm rental fleet in the entire state of Texas. You can rent pistols and rifles and shotguns and machine guns and even now silencers. That's right. You can put silencers on the same host weapons we use here to test at Pew Science and shoot them, see how they operate for you. I know it's indoors, so it's not, apples to apples with a free field examination, but it certainly is better than nothing. Okay, so go check them out at topgunrange.com. You can find them on Instagram at topgunrange as well. This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by High-End Armament Technology, a dealer of exactly that, high-end arms and accessories. Okay, they have a significant longevity in the machine gun game, the NFA game, and as well as significant expertise in the procurement and operation of night vision, thermal optics, and infrared sighting systems. Okay, check them out at highendarms.com, at Instagram at highendarms, and they even have a Facebook page, which is also High-End Arms. Okay, I hope they can help you folks out if you need it. The podcast is also brought to you by Silencer Shop. Look, guys, in today's day and age, you're busy. You hit up a Silencer Shop kiosk. You do your fingerprints and photos electronically. You cut down on errors to simplify your silencer purchasing process. You get a money-back guarantee. It's pretty good. Okay, you don't pay a transfer fee. You don't have any paperwork errors. You just have you and your silencer with no drama. It truly is silencer ownership simplified. Okay. And lastly, and most importantly, the podcast is brought to you by the Pew Science Laboratory. I'm the technical director of the lab, and in the interest of public education, we sponsor this podcast and we run a public research effort with the goal of pushing the silencer industry forward one test at a time. Okay, that is the goal of this effort. Please visit pewscience.com for the suppression rating. It's the simplest and most accurate hearing safe rating for your suppressed small arms. It really is, guys. It's based on true human inner ear response of the entire gunshot from before combustion takes place all the way until all the combustion is gone. Okay, and Pew Science is the home of the Silencer Sound Standard, 7 sections, the most in-depth and accurate silencer data analysis in the entire world. It's all available to the public 24/7 at pewscience.com. Okay, and members really do make this happen, guys. And you can support this podcast, you can support Pew Science. You can support the lab, all the testing we do by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. It really makes this possible. There's even a donate feature on the website if you really want to do that and you don't want to pay a monthly fee. You just want to throw us a bone every once in a while when you can. That's greatly appreciated. Every little bit helps. And something that's free and doesn't cost you anything. You can give this podcast a good rating on Spotify or iTunes or wherever you get your podcast, and YouTube. Like and subscribe. You let folks know that silencers and guns are awesome and hope to normalize the use of suppressed small arms. Okay, that is the goal. So we do have 2 topics for you today. Like I said in the introduction, topic 1, sound signature review 6151, the Surefire SOCOM556-RC3 on the standard 10.3-inch Mark 18. That's right. 2 mounts, the 3-prong and the closed tine war comp. And, did we get the same old conclusion? Well, no, we didn't. And so this is the technical discussion of this white paper that was published last week. Last week, we gave the short intro. This week, we're going to go deep, okay? And then topic 2, we did it again, research supplement 6152. This is the Surefire RC2 versus the RC3. So what changed, okay? So this is actually an article in a series. We call it the quietest 556 rifle silencers, taming the Mark 18. And this would be part 5 in that series. It's actually a little bit of a detour just to incorporate the RC3 into the pedigree. So in this supplement, we did a deep dive into the technologies in the RC2 and the RC3 only for Pew Science members. And we did that to give actionable performance data for field use. Okay, so for Pew Science members, this is exclusively for you. As a thank you for your support. Okay, so we're going to go through that today, kind of talk about what's in that and how it may help you if you're looking for this type of information. Okay, so we'll move into topic 1 at a time of 7 minutes and 3 seconds. Okay, guys, man, a lot to talk about here, so bear with me for one moment. Okay, so topic 1, sound signature review 6151. The 151st article in the Silencer Sound Standard. This is the RC3 on the Mark 18 with 2 mounts. So really two test reports in one, in the entire analytical white paper, in which there were a lot of conclusions that were reached, and some of it much different than what you have been seeing in some of this research. And I will start this off, just like I said in the intro, with a little bit of overview of the public reception to this article. This was absolute lunacy. And again, I knew this was going to be a popular article, but I did not anticipate the degree to which the emotional response would escalate. Okay, I really didn't. And when I tell you the response was severe, I'm not using hyperbole. I'm not exaggerating, okay? We had some individuals on social media going so far as to personally attack me and our laboratory, okay? They're accusing us of not only fraud and malpractice, but some people are even calling me names personally. It's wild. I'm talking like genuine, childlike, weird emotional response, okay? And almost all of it that we saw was isolated to, Facebook groups and internet forums, right? Like, none of it was seen by us directly because we don't go there. We just don't go to those places. What it was, folks were screenshotting it and they were emailing it to us. It was the Pew Science members. They're like, oh my gosh, you got to see this stuff. And so they're emailing us and we open it, we see it. We file it away in our records like we do. Okay, let's put that in our little folder there for a rainy day. Just collect it all. It's fine. I just want to let you guys know this is happening because it was wild. And so that's the first level of emotional response, right? The haters, right? And I'm just going to call them that because I don't really have another word for them. Really, these people only exist when we see them, and we don't see them unless people show us what they say. So really, they don't exist and they don't really matter in the big scope of things. But this time they were brought to our attention by a lot of people, and they sent us the information. That's fine. Okay. The second level of emotional response was the infighting we saw. It was infighting between the existing users of RC2 systems and new RC3 systems. Okay, so this is like sports team stuff, dude. Like, this is tribal stuff. This is basically, in my opinion, the silencer equivalent of political infighting. It's like you got like Democrat versus Republican, like red versus blue, RC2 versus RC3. The people turned it into the same thing. And it totally shouldn't be. In my opinion, it totally shouldn't be. Like, there should not be any parallel between an RC2 and an RC3 comparison and a political fight in 2024. Okay, I just don't see it. I don't know why it's like that. I mean, one is an objective argument, and the other is philosophical. Right? I mean, that's what I would think. And there shouldn't be the same type of infighting. You know, and that was my first reaction. I was like, why are people getting so upset? But then I sat down and I thought about it more, and I was thinking, you know, maybe this is philosophical. And that's one of the reasons why we created Research Supplement 6152 that is being published today, you know, concurrently with this episode. And we're going to talk about that later, but it's actually one of the reasons published it. I was like, so maybe this is philosophical. Maybe people need some background. Maybe that'll help a little bit, especially the members, right? So what we noticed, we noticed two levels of emotional response. You know, the haters that attack me in the lab, like they always do, whatever. And sometimes they even attack my family. Okay, good job. And then the other level is you have the infighting. You know, the RC2 versus RC3 owners, right? So there was a third level of emotional response, and that was from the manufacturer. Okay, so it's more passive, but still there. So just know, I want everyone listening to know this. When we determined we wanted to use internal Pew Science funding to make this research and publication happen, we got it right. Okay, the proof's in the reaction, dude. This research needed to happen, and we did it, and here we are. Okay, no one now that the dust has settled, no one can argue that this wasn't of interest to a significant amount of people. Yes? Okay. Obviously, people were interested in it, so we got it right. We determined that people would be interested in this, and certainly they were. Okay? So given that background, that's all I'm going to say about that. So given that background and the fact a week has gone by, can we now talk about the technical analysis objectively without people literally frothing at the mouth? Like, are you ready for that? I mean, again, I told you this many times. That's why we wait a week to talk technically. Many people are incapable of technical objective discourse without a week of cooling off. I mean, some of them need years, but hey, you know, I think a week for most people is fine. You know, right? So let's go down to business, dive in. Okay, we're gonna. It's like, gosh, some of the things. I'm sorry, you know, and frankly, I just real quick. I just don't go to those dark corners of the internet anymore because it's just like so negative, you know. And so when people send me the stuff, and they send us the stuff and we go through these emails and we see the screenshots and we read them, and it brings you to laughter because the stuff people are saying is so incredibly wild. And some of it is so hateful that you read it, you're like, oh my God, like, can you imagine someone saying something like that to you in real life? Like it would be insane. Like no one would speak to someone like that in person. It is one of the craziest things we ever see. So I just like sat there and I was like, man, do they really think this? I'm like, no. Are these real people? Are they robots? They might be robots. I don't know. It's so wild. Okay. So I was like, man, it sure is a good thing that we waited a week, you know, to go through this. Maybe they cool off. Maybe they read it again. You know, maybe they listen to the podcast. Maybe they learn something. Maybe they start supporting the effort, I say. So let's go ahead. If you are listening to this and you are in a position to do so, pull up Article 6151. Okay, it's a technical white paper. It's on the website. You can pull up the free version. If you're not a Pew Science member, that's fine. Pull up the free version. You can follow along at home. I'm not going to leave you hanging, I promise. Okay, I'm going to go through the member article just because it's fully featured and I can kind of go through it with you. But if you are following the free version, that's fine, okay? So I do want to say, I did incorporate some feedback into this one. I was thinking that this would help. And so toward the top of the article, I put a high-level summary. In the past, folks have asked us to do that. I'm sure there's a conclusion section at the end of the article that folks can go through and read. I know some folks don't like to have to scroll all the way down, and they say, oh, I shouldn't have to scroll that far. I said, okay, scrolling's hard. Fine. Here's the most succinct and simple high-level performance summary I could write for you, and I put it in the front. Yeah, put it right up there in the front, and I'm going to read it to you. But first, I want to give you the suppression ratings because it's going to give immediate context to all of this, okay? So big number at the top of the page. We'll start there as always. Bottom line up front, 28.8 composite suppression rating on the standard Mark 18 weapon system with the RC3 on a 3-prong flash hider mount, okay? 28.8 composite, okay? So 27.2 at the muzzle, 22.4 at the ear. Okay, fine. You switch to the close-tine Warcomp flash hider. Composite suppression rating drops a little bit to 26.5, just a little bit. That's 25.9 at the muzzle, 15.4 at the ear. Okay. So you drop more at the ear than you did at the muzzle by changing from a 3-prong to a Warcomp. Okay, great. That's expected, actually, yeah? Given the physics of the system. Okay. So we'll go over it, but that's like bottom line up front, pure hearing damage risk potential comparison between the two systems using the suppression rating, okay? Okay, great. Now, let me read you the high-level summary that's in the beginning of the article. Okay, there's 3 points. First point. The gas dynamics of the RC3 are extremely sensitive to mount geometry in the blast chamber. Closed-tine muzzle devices may exacerbate first-round signatures, meaning sound and flash. However, the first-round signature from the RC3 may be relatively severe regardless of mount type. Okay, that's the first conclusion. Okay, what's the second one? Overall signature of an RC3-equipped Mark 18 system is largely muzzle blast driven. Okay. Warcomp blast load leaks may be masked to personnel other than the operator. And that results in erroneous determinations of hazard reduction if you don't evaluate it right. If you don't know what you're looking at, right? Okay, that's the second point. Third and final point, the high flow rate or the low back pressure of the RC3, although it pays dividends in gas blowback hazard reduction, nullifies the benefit of ejection port blast reduction to the operator because of high amplitude muzzle signature throughout the shot string and subsequent blast wave coalescence. Okay, and that occurs in their free field, and you know what? It's likely even more severe in their reflecting surfaces. Okay, that's it. 3 high-level points, completely objective, based on test data, analysis, and physics. Cool. Okay. So we gave you the suppression ratings. We give you this high-level summary with 3 main points. The RC3 is mount sensitive. First round signatures can be erratic. Warcomp blast load leaks get masked to bystanders due to the high flow rate. And Surefire reduced the back pressure so much that the flow rate got so high and uncontrolled that operator protection got compromised to such a degree that the reduced ejection port blast doesn't really matter. But hey, maybe the gas blowback benefit's worth it to you. That's really the long and short of it, guys. Okay? Is that like, is what I just told you cause to call me and my family names? No? Okay. I didn't think so either. So these conclusions are real. Okay? These conclusions are real. They're not only shown in our test data and in our analysis, but they're also mirrored in user experience with the silencer since it was launched. Okay? You can go on YouTube right now and you can find people shooting the RC3 at night. And during the first shot, there are fireballs larger in size than the entire operator and weapon system. That's real. Okay, that's not fake. It's not special effects, dude. That's simple videography at night with no special cameras. They didn't even use a special camera. They didn't even adjust the shutter speed right. I mean, they didn't use a high-speed camera. They didn't use an infrared camera. They didn't adjust shutter speed. That's just some YouTube guys, dude. And they're catching it. Okay. Now, is that high fidelity? No. Is it quantitative? Absolutely not. Does it somewhat validate what I'm about to describe to you that's in our test report? Oh, it absolutely does. You want to see it? Yeah, okay. Cool. I thought you might. Let's do it. Scroll down to figure 1 in the article. Okay? Like, seriously, it's like, sometimes I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Okay? Scroll down to figure 1, dude. Like, we'll walk through it. It's all physics. It's all in black and white. Okay? Here we are. Familiar territory for Pew Science members, okay? And if you're one of those, welcome back. Thank you for your support. Glad you're here. Now, if you're new to the podcast and new to Pew Science, hey, also, great to have you. Glad you're here. Coffee's in the back. Okay? Now, figure 1A, figure 1B. This is the free field pressure signature, 1 meter left of the silencer's end cap. Okay? Same as always in the standard. Right away, you see something you don't typically see from a Surefire silencer. I'm going to tell you that right now. And you certainly didn't see it from the RC2. You see fast blowdown. Okay. Higher amplitude pressure field that diminishes faster. Okay. You see ground reflection pop up plain as day. You certainly do. That's one easy sign you have fast blowdown. When you start to see that, right, guys? I mean, you know that. This is old hat to a lot of you. Now, what else do you see right away? Bolt return time is lengthened. Okay, makes sense. That's consistent with what you would expect given the system. Okay, what else? What else? Zoom into early time. How would you do that? Go to figure 1B. What do you see there? Prolonged positive phase pressure pulse in early time. Why is that? Why is that physically happening? More gas getting out faster. Nested shocks. Why? How? Well, muzzle orifice and the vent orifice combining jets in early time. Yeah, nested jetting together as one. That's right. Okay, so far so good. It tracks with the reality you would expect to happen, and we're only looking at the first two figures. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so this all makes sense to you. Yes, there's nothing crazy yet. Yes, everything looks copacetic. You don't even have to talk about any numbers yet. You just want to look at like the gross physics that you observe in the plots. Yes. Okay, makes sense. You know they made the RC3 flow faster. They told you that. You heard that. You see it. Everyone knows it. Okay. Now, what they might not have told you, but what the YouTubers found out pretty quickly when they started shooting these things, is that during the first shot, sometimes things go a little wonky. Okay. Now, that's a technical term. No, just kidding. It's not. What really happens is you have severe positive phase gas momentum accumulation in the free field that happens for a very long duration. Okay. In impulse space, you can see this in figure 2A. Yes, that's right. The black curve in figure 2A. See anything abnormal about the black curve? You do. You see it rise faster to initial peak as you would expect, but then what happens? Well, it doesn't go away. And it certainly doesn't decay and fall back in line with the subsequent shots like you would see with an RC2 and a Mark 18. No, it doesn't. What does it do instead? It takes you along for a ride for almost twice the duration of a typical impulse signature in the rest of the string. What does that mean in plain English? It means there's more gas momentum jetting out of the front of an RC3 during the first shot than in the other shots, and it's not just a little bit more, and it's not a normal type of jetting. It's a multi-tiered, uncontrolled distal jet that if you shot the thing at night, you could have an experience that could potentially manifest as a large fireball. Okay, now, have people showed that to happen? Yes. Do these plots show fireballs? Well, no. They show gas momentum accumulation. Okay? Are the conditions shown in these plots conducive to the propensity for uncontrolled jetting out of the distal end of a silencer that could potentially produce a large fireball if the shock boundaries weren't properly disrupted and unburnt fuel was introduced into a high flux temperature region? Yes. Okay, so if nobody had shown me those videos and I looked at these plots and someone said, hey, Jay, could the RC3 have a lot of first-round sound and flash? I would say, in accordance with our data and analysis, that conclusion may be reasonable. Yes. That would be my answer. Our test data does not show fireballs, but it certainly does not help the case people are making for there not being fireballs. You see what I'm saying? It's consistent with that phenomena. It's consistent with it. Okay? I'm telling you, this is physical fact. You don't even have to be able to spell the word Surefire. Okay? So, we go through a logic progression in this article, and it's not emotional, it's just physics. I'm going to take you through it really quickly here, because it's a long, there's so much, dude, this article is so long, it's ridiculous. Now, we show 5 performance differentials between the RC2 and the RC3 that are immediately apparent when you compare the two test reports, okay? Going back all the way 100 articles ago to article 52, take that information and compare it to almost 199 articles later and 151 and compare them. We summarized it for you, okay? And it's right there. We show the higher amplitude, longer duration blast. We show faster blowdown. We show the delayed carrier return time. We show the impulse differential I just talked about. We talk about the type of FRP signature and the uncontrolled nature of the signature from the RC3 versus the RC2. And every single thing we show in that article and in that summary is due to the increased flow rate of the RC3, which was done on purpose. And Surefire even tells you they did it on purpose. So far, nothing to be mad about, right? Just physics so far, right? Okay, let's keep going because maybe we'll find something. Okay, what's next? Next, there's 2 research notes. Okay, 2 research notes. Are they long? Well, I mean, they're not short. What do they say? Well, they explain in technical detail the difference between an RC2 and an RC3 physically. And they end by telling you there are 2 things that you really need to worry about if you use an RC3 instead of an RC2. Okay. The first thing is that the mount you use in the blast chamber can potentially change what happens outside the silencer. Okay. And the second is that what you pick to put in that blast chamber not only will change things, it could possibly tank the performance to a level you're not happy with. Okay? Okay. Again, factual things based on physics. And again, Surefire told all of you this too. They told you. They posted it on social media. Look at their Instagram. Look at their post on Instagram from December 11th, 2023. I want you to go look at it. In that post, they talk about only closed time systems generating erratic flash signatures. Okay. What Pew Science is telling you is that all mounts may generate erratic first round signatures, and part of that erratic signature may be flash. That's what we're telling you. Okay. Similar thing we're telling you that they're telling you, but what we're telling you and what they tell you is somewhat compatible. My point is it's not out of left field, and what I'm saying is not crazy. Yes? Okay, 1 second. Okay. Also in these research notes in the article, we are telling you that we have been here before, because we have. Other people, and by people I mean other silencer companies and designers and organizations have tried almost the exact same type of technology to reduce back pressure in a rifle silencer. Okay? Let's not pretend that hasn't happened. We have the cutaways, we have the patents. The RC3 is an RC2 with more internal porting, a passive vent array annulus fed by the blast chamber and baffle vents. And really, guys, here's where I'll give you a subjective opinion. Really, in my opinion, there are 2 kind of fancy portions of the RC3, and that's my opinion, that there's 2 fancy portions. But now I'm going to tell you what objectively those fancy portions are. The first is the shape of the primary reflector, the blast baffle, okay, which I believe is 3D printed, and the way it reflects wavelets into the annulus, I believe that's a little fancy. Very good. The second fancy part is the jet nozzle geometry and angles at the distal end, which I personally thought when I first saw them, honestly, I thought they were really going to reduce flash a bunch. That's my that was my gut feel. I was like, I bet those redos flash a bunch because it's going to be flowing so quickly. I like the way they made that so long at the angle they made it. That's smart. I mean, honestly, I was pretty sure the silencer was not going to be quiet, but I was kind of thinking it was going to not flash a lot. I was like, I bet you that doesn't flash a lot. When I saw a cutaway, I was like, I bet it doesn't flash a lot. And that was my guess. Looking at the geometry at the end of the silencer, honestly. I was like, cool. I know exactly why they did that. Okay. I mean, in fact, and it's a matter of a historical record, we've talked about that type of nozzle geometry reducing flash on the podcast. I mean, go back and find it. So now, one of the interesting things that happens in the RC3 is that it's pretty consistent. It's pretty consistent, just like the RC2 was, which is always one of the great hallmarks of the RC2, in my opinion. And a lot of other people share that opinion, I think. But one thing that I think some people got mad about was that the RC3 is shown to be not as consistent as the RC2. Okay. Another thing I think people got upset about were that all bets are off during the first shot. Okay. I mean, this is described in technical detail in the article, but really what happens in an RC3 is somewhat uncontrolled combustion during the first shot. And as you heat the system, you will start to get more intense signatures, okay? Now, we see it in the data, and several people have shared their anecdotal experiences with us of their silencer starting to throw fireballs, for example, later in the shot string. Okay, what is happening? It's actually very similar to what happens when you experience gas stack in a high back pressure silencer. It is similar to that. Now, it's the same mechanism. It's not doing the same thing, okay, because the Surefire RC3 is a low back pressure silencer. It's not doing the same thing, but it's the same mechanism. So in a higher back pressure silencer, like an RC2 or to a much greater extent a polonium that you're all familiar with, in those types of systems, you become unable to correctly and expediently expand and cool into the silencer once you've already shot several rounds through it. And you actually get increased back pressure in the system as you shoot. What you're doing is you're dynamically changing the back pressure as you shoot quickly. That's gas stack. In an RC3, the exact same thing happens, but it manifests differently. Okay, and if you aren't looking at the waveforms and gas momentum close enough, you'll miss it. I guarantee you. Okay, so what you can do, and let me go back to the article here. What you can do is look at shot 5 in figure 2B, and then I guess it happens again with a war comp. So you're gonna have to go to figures. Is it 6B? Yeah, I'm in the member article scrolling down. Yeah, 6, and then you have to look at 6B. Okay. And the fact that it's happening in both between two tests, the same silencer with different mounts, shows you it's repeatable. I mean, come on. You get extra impulse at peak accumulation, guys. Now, is that a huge deal? Well, no, absolutely not. It's absolutely not a huge deal. Would it continue as you heat the silencer? Well, I mean, it would have to, due to the physical mechanism of action. And I mean, it actually, and to that point, it does. In shot 6, when you look at figure 2A and 6A, it does continue past shot 5. I just stopped at shot 5 in the article because we don't consider shot 6 in the analysis. Yes, we only consider 5 shots, understand. So you're heating the silencer and you're unable to expand with the same proportionality from the first expansion chamber into the baffle stack and then into the proximal vent array. Yes? Okay, so what else are you doing? Well, you're increasing the sound speed in the medium as well because the waves are now traveling through higher temperature gas. Oh no, does that increase the sound speed? Yes. Now the muzzle blast, you're bouncing off of that first reflector. Now it's speeding up. And the wavelets you're creating now have a different Mach number. Oh no. Yeah, that's right, they do. Now you're on a different planet. Later in the shot string. Different environment. Okay? Instead of expand and cool and reflect and expand, you're doing jet, confine, expand, kind of, reflect, oh crap, dip, dodge, dive. What proportion of shock reflection is doing what you want? And what proportion of shock reflection is doing something unpredictable? And does it matter? Well, think about it, guys. Think about it. In an RC2 and polonium, same thing happens. But what advantages do those two silencers have in that situation? They got one way out, baffle stack. What does the RC3 provide the blast loads? Options. What happens when you give a crazy girl options? What happens when you give someone with a propensity for erratic behavior options? Are they going to pick the same thing every time? Or are they going to be a wild card, dude? Look, you ever seen that episode of Always Sunny when Charlie is in the back of the van and he cuts the brake lines and screams wild card? Dude, that's the RC3 later in the shot string when compared to the RC2. And you know what? I would go so far as to say, frankly, it's the RC3 during the first shot as well. The RC3 is a wild card unless it's after FRP slow fire in a string. That is my opinion on that. And that's actually supported by data analysis. I think anything during the first shot or after a high firing schedule becomes potentially unpredictable. And that is it. Look, it's proven out not only in our data and analysis with multiple mounts, but it's in user experience too. It's in the YouTube videos. It's in the Pew Science member anecdotal feedback we've received in writing from the silencer users themselves. It's all there, dude. It's all consistent. Okay. So, given that, let's talk war comp now. Yes, we always do it. Let's talk about it again. Why not? Look, I posed this rhetorical question to you. I asked, is the same old story with the war comp happening here? Is it the same old story with the war comp as it's been in the past? No, guys, it's not. But it's not for the reason you may think. It's not. Now, here's the wild thing about the war comp with the RC3 compared with that when you used it with the RC2, okay? The wild thing here is that sure, you do get a blast load leak. We understand that like a lot. There's nothing to prevent a blast load. Fine. An actual high amplitude shock leaking out and impacting the operator and bystanders. Nothing you can do. Yes, we all agree. Been there, got the t-shirt. Everyone understands that. However, there is something serendipitous that happens with the RC3. It's actually... It's actually not that bad. A negative actually becomes sort of a positive in a way. There is so much distal flow rate out of the annulus of the RC3 that the shock load, when it propagates to the portion of the sound field near the muzzle, it's largely masked, dude. Like, the added wave momentum from the war comp leak doesn't matter as much in the free field because the RC3 flows so dang fast and already puts out so much dang gas momentum accumulation. There's already a literal tidal wave of energy to contend with. It's a literal tidal wave of momentum. It's literally wave momentum, and it's huge. It's there. And guys, you actually see that overall in the muzzle suppression rating with both mounts, right? That's why there's not a huge difference there. The muzzle suppression rating with either mount they're not that far off from each other. And this is why. It's because of the wild gas momentum from the distal vents of the RC3. The leak just doesn't compete in the free field like that. That's how wild the coalescence is and the gas velocity is, the wave momentum is. That's the physical reason why those ratings aren't that far off from each other. The difference with the war comp is unfortunately the same as with all the other Surefire silencers. It's the operator hazard. Behind the muzzle, where you ideally want a lot of protection from muzzle blast, because it expands spherically and eventually gets to you, right? The war comp leak comes and gets you too, and that's because it's close. The sound field's decoupled. You get the leak first. You get it fast. It's literally right in your face. Members see all of that data and analysis in this article, just like you've seen in like the 4 or 5 other articles. We've shown the dang huge shock load at your face that we've all felt if we shot one of these. So look, the confounding factor here that some people miss, I think, is that the RC3 has so much venting in the free field. You might think it's from a mount leak when it's not. And then because someone tells you the mount leak doesn't matter, it doesn't matter because it's vent a lot, then you forget it does matter to the shooter. So, oh, crap. So this is one of those cases that the war comp detriment's pretty nuanced. And that you really need to understand your requirements before you use one. I think that would be our advice to you on that. And then you add to the fact that the war comp we tested was a closed tine flash hider war comp, and that means you could potentially have leaks that manifest differently to the total sound field than with an open-tined work comp. I mean, given what Surefire has said and what we've seen in this testing, too, and the blast chamber sensitivity. So that's interesting, right? One second. Now, the wild part here, or one of the wild parts here, is that as we show in the member case study in the review, members, man, I'm telling you, you're going to want to see this. After FRP, the muzzle impulse from the open-tine 3-prong and the closed-tine work comp, they're like right on top of each other. Let me scroll down in this review to the member section. There's a member case study. And yeah, after FRP, and for members, it's figure 10B, what I'm talking about. I'm talking about figure 10B for it's only in the member article. They're like right on top of each other. It's scary how consistent. Even the uniform decay is consistent. It's wild. Okay. And so when you look at this, so as far as erratic signature, we see it with both mounts, and especially during the first shot. And it's not necessarily with only closed-tine devices, because we tested the 3-prong flash hider, yes? So this again agrees with user experience. We have a feeling it's not just closed-tine devices that show erratic behavior. It's a function of system heating, FRP, and each type of device displays different sequencing and proportionality behavior throughout the shot string. And that is what we highlighted using much less words in the 2 main points up in research note 2. Okay, when we cautioned about the behavior. Okay, guys, I mean, again, there's a lot in this article. It's almost too much to go into in one episode. I'm trying to hit the main points really hard. That's what I'm doing right now. And particularly if you're a Pew Science member, there's so much analysis in here, guys. You're really going to need to take a look at it. You really do need to. So why don't we do this? Why don't we sum up the technical discussion with the 5 gross conclusions shown under the bar chart near the end of the article? If you scroll all the way down, past the member case study and here, all that stuff, you go down to section 6.151.4, which is a suppression rating comparison on the Mark 18, has the huge bar chart with all these silencers in it, okay? And you put the RC3 in red down there. So I put below that big old chart, I put 5 gross conclusions in there, okay? And so those, let's just go through those really quick. So the first one, you get more severe free field hazard with an RC3 and a 3-prong than you do with an RC2 and a 3-prong, okay? You get a little less operator hazard with an RC3 due to the reduced back pressure on average. That's true. But the difference is less pronounced on average than it would be normally due to the high flow venting in the RC3. The way they accomplish it makes the sound field more intense. They vent directly to the annulus from the baffle stack and right out the front. It's not like surge bypass in the CAT silencers or flow through in the Huxworks silencers. It's not the same mechanisms, okay? It's way different. If you really wanted to compare the high flow rate of an RC3 to something, you compare it to a vented cap on a Helios QD or Hyperion. And how loud do you think those get? Okay? Spoiler alert, they're not quiet. Especially not the Helios QD with a vented end cap. And why is that? You've seen the inside of the silencers. We've been over this before. Okay, so that's why. You guys calling this a flow-through silencer, it's like, well, it's definitely not working as well as a flow-through silencer in that respect. There's not the same amount of turbulence and heat transfer at all. Frankly, it's more like a vented Helios QD. Really? No, it's not the same. But is it similar? In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. But a lot of it's more similar. I'm not saying it's the same type of silencer. I'm saying it has a lot of similarities, particularly in the annular utilization. Now, second point. The work comp mount increases hazards to everyone like it always does. But in the free field, the leak is masked by distal flow. What does that mean? When you're out there and someone's shooting the silencer on a work comp, it's flowing so fast you might not even notice the leak. But if you're a shooter, you're gonna. Okay. Third point. If you want to compare average gross free field signature severity of the RC3 with other silencers, it's like a Trash Panda. It's like a HXQD 556. It's like a Knights Armament NT4. It's like a Lahar 30. on the Mark 18. That's pretty much what it's doing, okay? Fourth point. You want to compare operator hazard in the free field? RC3 is pretty much giving you what an RC2 would do in the Mark 18, or a Helios QD, or an HX QD 556K, or a Knights Armament QDC, or a Liberty Precision Machine Torch. That's what the hazard level is, guys. Yeah. Does it have less gas blowback than those? Yeah. But what's the overpressure hazard like? Well, similar to all those, according to our analysis. Yeah. That's right. Muzzle blast coalescence. What's the final point? Close time war comp mount pretty much gives you on par shooter's ear hazard reduction with other war comp mounted Surefire silencers. You're elevating the operator risk, and that's all there is to it. There's nothing you can do. Guys, if you put a war comp on a Mark 18 with a Surefire silencer and you're the guy shooting the silencer, you're getting a shock at your face. That's it. I don't care if you're, I didn't notice a difference. Okay. I don't care what you noticed. I'm telling you what it's doing to you. Okay? Yeah. And guys, I'm going to say, really, what Surefire did here, and look, this is not political. It's not mean. It's not subjective. It's not anything other than factual. What Surefire did was take an RC2 system, introduced more porting to the stack, funnel the concept of proximal blast chamber vents to a continuous annulus that's also fed by baffle vents, and tune the rear end and tune the front end for shock propagation with analytical CFD. And they did that to make the most use of the geometry they felt they had. The end, dude. That's it. And how do I know that? Because that's what the silencer shows us, and that's what the data and analysis shows us, the end. That's what is shown to have occurred. You can see it. There are geometric features that had to be tuned. And how did they do that? Well, they told us they did CFD. Why would you use CFD? Well, you'd run a parametric study. Why would you do that? To tune geometry. Okay, done. And what parts would you tune? Well, we showed you what parts. The only parts that matter when you make a silencer flow like this. They already decided what they wanted to do. Now they had to tweak the consequences of it. Okay? So I put something in bold at the end of the article here before the conclusions. And I'm going to read it now. Okay, what I said was, the evaluations of the Surefire SOCOM556-RC3 detailed in this report exemplify the limits of modifying a legacy technology to achieve more advanced flow dynamics. Uncontrolled distal flow rate significantly influences weapon operator hazard reduction efficacy. Yeah. I bolded it because that's like the meat. That's the meat stick. That's like the thrust of this, yes? That's what it shows, dude. It shows you, like, when they took a silencer and they modified a legacy silencer to do something else, this shows you the limits of that, of what can happen. And now, is it a bad silencer? Absolutely not. No one ever said that. I didn't say that. Okay? Is it a performance improvement over the RC2 on a Mark 18? I mean, for you, it could be. I have no doubt that shooting an RC3 on an untuned Mark 18 might be more pleasant to the operator in the free field than shooting an RC2 on the untuned Mark 18, because you're going to get less gas in your face and you're going to get similar overall blast hazards as the shooter, right? Let's repeat that for folks that may not see that Pew Science already told you this. RC2 on a Mark 18 with a 3-prong gives you 22.2 at the ear. RC3 with a 3-prong on a Mark 18 gets you 22.4 at the ear. It's the same number. Guys, 22.2 versus 22.4 is the same thing, dude. Okay, what's the difference? Less gas blowback. Oh my God, it's going to be more pleasant shooting an RC3. Imagine that. That's true in the free field for the operator. Okay. So if you have an RC3, don't get upset. If you have an RC2, don't get upset. At least both groups of you shouldn't be upset at these facts, or upset at me, or upset at our lab for showing you the facts. The only thing I think you could maybe be upset about, if maybe if you end up seeing there are other systems that are cheaper and maybe they can out RC3 the RC3. Maybe that's what you're mad about. Now, are there such systems? I mean, unfortunately, I think there are. There are things that for some people are going to out RC3 the RC3, and there's nothing we can do about that except present the data and analysis, and there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do about that. I think for low omega systems with really low gas blowback, you could do a lot worse than the RC3. Now, are you going to run into problems near reflecting surfaces like with other low omega systems? Are you going to be better off using a very low alpha system like, things like the Torch or the Cat ODB or WB that they have more omega control, so you're quieter overall? I mean, for your gun and the way you run your gun, maybe, dude. It's hard to say what everyone wants, guys, but you have a lot of data now, a lot of analysis, okay? So for those of you who are on the fence between the RC2 and the RC3, still, after seeing this article and after this discussion that we've gone through and kind of explained things to you, the next topic and the next article is also for you. Okay, let's move into topic 2 at a time of 51 minutes and 4 seconds. Man, this is making good time for such an insane article, yes? It's all about the prep work. Right? Topic 2, research supplement 6152. The Surefire RC2 versus RC3. What changed? In this 5th article in the series of the quietest 556 rifle silencers that tame the Mark 18 or try to, we do a deep dive into the technologies in the RC2 and the technologies in the RC3 for Pew Science members. This is a member-exclusive article, and we give actionable performance data for field use. This is really actionable. This is the most in-depth signature analysis you're going to get for inner ear response to suppressed weapon system signatures in the world, I think. So, and this one is sort of long. And the public free preview part is kind of long too, because I wanted to make sure, even if folks aren't Pew Science members, they understand the system and the reason behind it. I wanted to make sure people really understood what Surefire was trying to do here. I thought it was be fair to Surefire, right? And to be fair to the readers, be fair to the members, for everyone to understand. And I do want to say, and I'm heading this off at the pass because I've seen how some of these crazy people on the internet talk. Before the rumors even start, dude, I want to tell you right now, straight from the horse's mouth, Surefire did not tell me to write this research supplement, and they don't even know it's going to be published. And I'm not, putting this together as an apologist. I am in no way trying to downplay the disappointment of consumers that you're using the RC3 when they used to use an RC2, because there are some of those. I'm not downplaying that at all. What Pew Science is doing with this supplement is summarizing the why, the what, and the who cares of moving from an RC2 to an RC3 on your SBR. And then we give you actionable, detailed inner ear analysis to understand exactly how the signatures manifest between the 4 systems. That's RC2 and RC3, both on the Mark 18, both the 3-prong and war comp. Okay. And we go deep dive in first round and average signatures, but using a method of an analytical presentation that's not available to the public. It's only to Pew Science members that you've seen before. Okay. That's what this is. Okay. So again, the article is available only for Pew Science members because it's a thank you for their support. That's why we present some information as members only in general. That's why we do that. It's for the members as a thank you. We could not do it without the members. They keep this going, and we do believe we owe them something special, and that's why we do things like this. Now, I am not trying to sell you a Pew Science membership. Look, if you want to support this, I want you to do that because you think this effort's helping everyone and you think it should be supported, which I believe it to be helping everybody. That's why I want you to support Pew Science. Now, I do want to say, that being said, you might want to read this article if you're really on the fence between an RC2 and an RC3, particularly for a rifle like a Mark 18. Or maybe you own an RC3. Or maybe if you have an RC2 and you're curious about an RC3. Or maybe you're like me and you just like silencers and you think they're neat. You'll probably get something out of it too, okay? So I hope you guys get a lot out of it. I really do. Again, the public got a lot in the preview, including a good read that I think you should go through if you have no idea why the RC3 was created. I think it'll be a good reference for people new to silencers and new to Surefire, I think. Okay, so please enjoy it. I hope it was informative. I hope this whole talk was informative. I hope it was quick and to the point. I try to make it to the point. Because all in all, guys, I think the RC3 is a silencer for folks that maybe they love the RC2, but they didn't want gas in their face, and they don't want to worry about the gun and don't necessarily care about the signature as much as some other people. That's probably the long and short of it. That's probably who the RC3 is for, honestly. I really do think that. So there, again, with this research supplement 6152 and this article 6151 that we published last week, which, God, there were 17 research notes in that dang article. I mean, one of the most comprehensive studies I think we've done publicly for folks. Between all that information that is now on pewscience.com for the RC3 and what you're getting with this podcast and this research supplement that, God, the frequency data alone is just so awesome. You should have pretty much no more questions about the RC3 until we test it on a different host, right? This should tide you over, okay? So please, stay safe out there, friends. Please hit me up with any questions you have. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will talk with you folks again soon. Okay? Bye.